All right, what up? It's Tommy Runs. This is the first time I've ever done like a what I ate during a race because I've always done marathons and never felt like it was that necessary to share like what I did. But I just ran my first ever official trail ultra marathon, and it was the Havalina Jundred in Arizona. I ran on October 25th. 100 miles in 19 hours, 4 minutes, and 4 seconds. So, my first ever go at the 100-mile distance as a race, I was able to do it in 19 hours. And actually, the reason why I say first official is because I did the speed project from LA to Las Vegas solo. That was 341 miles. It's 340-mile route, but it turned out to be 341 point something miles. I did that in 6 days. And that was a little different because I had more breaks and wasn't trying to like finish this as a race or finish that as a race. So this is more like a race, and it felt more like an extended marathon, and you had to kind of consider more things, more like in the race category. So the fueling part was a big deal, and we tried to make sure that we nailed that down all the way. So I'll go through like some of the stuff that I ate, or everything that I ate that day, as long as I can remember correctly. The goal, first off, I want to give a big shout out to Maurten. Maurten sent out a bunch of things, and specifically, I asked for bars and drink mix, and some gels as well. So I had that in the repertoire. I also had Skratch. This isn't Skratch. I also had Skratch, the everyday unsweetened hydration. I had those because I take those a lot. So I take these a lot. So just scoops. There's 400 milligrams in each scoop of one of these. And then I also had Mikra. Big shout out to Mikra. They sent out I've been using Mikra for most of all the training block for this ultra marathon. Mikra has each one of these sachets. Each one of these packets and sachets have 450 milligrams of sodium in each one of these. And then so along with Maurten, Skratch, and Mikra, and some other stuff like real food, we were able to make good out of the day. First off, I woke up in the morning. I actually took some of Mikra's Focus. I wanted to make sure that I started my day off correctly, focused and ready to go. So I had the Mikra Focus. Took 2 of those. Had a bagel with peanut butter and jelly. Got my day going with some coffee as well. Got to the race, and my goal for each round was to go at it very like strategically and scientifically to make sure I got enough grams of sodium and carbs in each round. So my goal was to have at least one Maurten Drink Mix 320, one bar, which also has, let me see what the carbs are on this one. The carbs in this one are 42 grams of carbs in this. There's 100 grams of carbs in this one as well. So that's a bunch of carbs for each round. So we want to have one of these, one bar, and then potentially one gel. And then along with either 2 scoops of the Skratch or 2 sachets of the Mikra Hydrate. So how it worked out was, this is where we started off. The first round was really good, the first loop, because Havalina is a 100-mile course. 100-mile race, but it's a 20-mile loop, so you do that loop 5 times. So it was really cool and easy for my crew to plan and say, okay, every time you come in, here's what you're going to have. Make sure you have these done, finished, and ready to go so we can offload and then reload you to get ready for the next loop. So first round or first loop, I left the home base with a bottle full of the Maurten 320. I had a bar with me and then one gel. And so these were both, and then 1 and 2 scoops of the Skratch hydration. So I had 1 bottle of this, 1 bottle with the Skratch hydration, and I had a bottle with just water because Havalina is in the desert. So we just wanted to make sure that I didn't get dehydrated. So what I ended up actually completing or finishing during that round or that loop was the Maurten black mix, which is actually 80 grams. I said 100 earlier. Is actually 80 grams of carbs in this one. So I did one of these. I finished one, not the chocolate one. I actually finished the plain color, the plain flavored, like kind of Rice Krispie treat, Maurten 160, solid 160. Finished one of those on the go, and I did not end up getting to the gel that I had with me. But I drank the water and it came back fully topped off with for all the bottles that I had. So I finished all those. Second loop, I went out again with a Maurten 320. One gel. I did not finish the bar because the bar was really, although it was really good, it was just hard for me to, on that first lap, it was hard for me to like get the one down that I did. So I didn't want to like do that right away. So I made sure I got the gel in the second loop. I did not take the water because it was just, I had 3 bottles with me the first time around, 1 stuck in like my belt and then 2 in my hand. And I felt like that was just a little too much. I wanted 1 free hand at least. So I went out with 1 drink mix and 1 bottle with 2 sachets of Mikra hydrate to make sure that I was staying on top of my electrolytes and sodium. And on that one, I left out of the second loop a little hungry. So what I ended up doing was stopping at one of the aid stations, and they had potatoes, and I threw a little bit of salt on the potatoes and ate like 2 of those. They had little potato bites. So I came back in, completed 1 gel, 1 Maurten drink mix, and 2 scoops of the Mikra, or 2 sachets of the Mikra hydrate, to make sure that I was, moving well. And that loop was a little hard because it was starting to get a little warmer out there. Actually, I think I had a couple bites of Pop-Tarts after I came back in from that first loop. So that was kind of, actually I had a couple of bites of Pop-Tarts after that second loop was over. So I left out of that second loop, and the goal was to start trying to get some caffeine in. So I actually threw in one of the Maurten Drink Mix 320 with 100 grams of caffeine as well. So I had that one in there, and I took another gel during that loop, and then I had 2. I actually asked them to have 3 scoops of the Skratch hydration. So just because I wanted to make sure I was getting more salt in, because that third loop is the hottest part of the day, and I didn't want to get over, just want to get dehydrated. So when I came back in, though, for that third loop, I had a couple of bites of some noodles. It's that brand Lotus Foods. I can't remember what the brand or what the flavor was, but I had some noodles. I'm vegan, so I had to make sure I had some vegan options, but I wanted some salt from the broth and some taste, and it was easy to kind of get down a few bites of the noodles. And then I had a bunch of Lay's potato chips and headed back out. And in that third loop, I actually had some potatoes, pickles, and found out that like one of the moments that I was having some trouble, I had a lady was like, it was actually the last aid station. And so like the last aid station, there's 3 of them out there, is only about like 4 miles from back to home base. And she just said, she was like, you're not looking so great. You want some Coca-Cola? And I don't normally drink Coca-Cola at home, but she's like, you want some Coca-Cola? And I'm like, I'm not turning down anything. I'm like, yes, I'll take that. So she gave me a couple like little cups of Coca-Cola, and between like the potatoes and the pickles and some Coca-Cola, I felt really good as I got closer back to home base. So I had that in my mind, like for now on, like let's run this Coca-Cola thing back, right? So in the fourth loop, I went out. I got back, had a little more broth and some noodles in that one as well. Like they just kind of reheated up what I had. Went out again with a black drink mix because I didn't want to just overdo the coffee and get weird, or the caffeine and get weird. So I had another black mix. I couldn't get down the bars or the gels anymore at this point. I was trying to figure out, my life a little bit. I actually had a couple bites of a bar and ended up throwing up. Just because I just couldn't keep it down, or it was like I was just too dry. I couldn't like chew and swallow and like move on. So I actually threw up before I went out on that fourth loop. But I felt so much better, and it was like ready to kind of like start getting the fluids down again. So I went out with a drink mix. I went out with, what did I have on that one? I think I had 2 scoops of, I went back out again with 3 scoops of the unsweetened flavor for Skratch. To make sure I had the electrolytes still. It was still sunny out, but the temperature was starting to cool down because it was soon to be sunset. And went out there, and on that loop, I had a half of a burger at the Jackass Junction station, half of a vegan burger, a Beyond Meat burger. Had half of that, and then some pickles and potato chips, pickle bites, and I actually had some Gatorade. And then each stop, I had a little bit of Coca-Cola. Like I said, there's 3 aid stations. So I was trying to make sure that I had my carbs going. I had some caffeine in there, but I wanted to make sure that I was like trying my best to bring on, electrolytes and stay eating enough to have some energy, but then also getting enough water as well. Because when I went out with just this one pack, I also had a water in the other bottle, so I had 2 bottles in hand. and then ate those things along the course as well. So I got done with that fourth loop, had some chips, had some bites, some more noodles a little bit, and then I had a half of a little, just a couple bites of a Cliff Bar, and kind of just like ready to go and get back out there. So this loop, I didn't carry anything in hand. My pacer actually had everything in hand. He had, I had one water, I believe, and then he had a drink mix that I just ended up not taking. And so, what the heck is going on? So I think I'm still recording. So I had that, and then with the other bottle he had two sachets of the Mikra. He had two sachets of the Mikra electrolyte mix. So I went out for that last and final loop, kind of ready to go, really energized. The food, like the half of a burger, the Gatorade that I had, the Coca-Cola, and the chips and stuff like that was starting to kind of like add up and kind of turn into energy a bit. So so I was starting to like feel really good, but I wanted to make sure I was on top of everything. I had one gel with me, a Maurten gel, but I was just like afraid to take it because I had thrown up that in that fourth loop, or before that fourth loop. And I didn't want to like risk that again as I was trying to close out and maybe get close to like breaking 19 hours in this race. So I was like, let me just stay the course and try to figure it out. Somewhere along that way, like my pacer was like, he had a Never Second orange gel. He's like, I know you don't want to take gels, but do you want some of this? I was like, sure, I'll take it. And it was really easy to go down, so that was really cool. Like, it saved me a little bit, made me feel a little bit better, like I can handle like food. So we got to one of the aid stations. I had another half a burger. He ate the other half, and I had a bunch of Coca-Cola and like along the stops to make sure I had the sugar and caffeine, still popping, and closed out the day with having with 19 hours, 4 minutes, and 4 seconds in the race. And during the race, in total, I consumed two of these, two Maurten 320 mixes, one Maurten 320 mix with caffeine, a bunch of milligrams of sodium from Skratch, and at least maybe I think like 1,800 or 2,000 milligrams of sodium from Mikra Hydrate, along with 2 gels and from Maurten and 2 bars from Maurten as well, along with a bunch of other food and fun stuff along the way. So that's everything I think that I ate during the 100-mile race in Havalina Jundred. If you have any questions, let me know. If hopefully this was mildly helpful. This is the first time I've done anything like this. First time I've ever done anything like that as well. So I think one thing that I would change. I think the way we went about making sure like everything was checked off when it comes to numbers and what you need 100 and whatever milligrams of sodium and 100 whatever milligrams of carb per hour and all that stuff. I think that we went about that the right way, but I would suggest for myself and anybody else to super overly practice with eating and making sure that you can handle and take all of these things, because it sounds really easy. It sounds like, why would I need help eating? Because I do it every day. But you really need to train your stomach to be able to handle all these liquids and gels and other food as well. So make sure you practice everything you're going to take and like kind of overdo it, because I actually heard someone say like ultra running is all about running and mental, but it's also being able to master like the concept of like eating and holding things in your stomach during the duration and being able to process that too, because there also gets to a point where sometimes you may not even be like processing it correctly because of the effort that you're putting in. So practice this a lot, all this stuff a lot. It is a little expensive to have all these different things and practice them during your training, but the more you practice it, the more you'll be ready on race day to actually be able to bring on all the electrolytes and carbs that you need from the sources that you want, because you don't necessarily want to have to eat like solid food unless you practice that all the way too. But if you can get through and make sure that you have all the things you need to sustain and be healthy and finish the race within the time that you want, and it doesn't have to be sitting down eating a burger at an aid station, I think that's probably optimal, especially if you're looking to maximize your time out there. So thanks so much for listening and watching. Peace out. Check me out on Instagram if you don't already. At Tommy Runs, at Tommy TOMMIE_RUNZ on Instagram, and check out the reels and stuff like that that are on there from the race. But then I also have a little highlight where it's all the updates throughout the race that Sean Hayworth was putting up as I was out there on the race, on the course, and running that 1904. But most importantly, I'm really excited about the next step of this is going to be a small little mini doc. I think it's going to be like maybe 15, 20 minutes about Havalina and my experience there and getting, to Arizona and running that race and having that be the first time that I've ever run a distance like that. And then obviously with a time like that as well. So thanks so much for tapping in. Stay tuned for the mini doc. Jump over to Instagram for stuff that's happening every day. Peace out.